You know the feeling, right? You're in a high-stakes meeting, a really tough conversation, or suddenly a crisis just drops in your lap. The pressure starts to build, and your brain it either freezes up, or even worse, it totally misfires. Well, today we're going to break down a super simple skill, how to stay sharp and think clearly when it really counts.
I mean, have you ever just snapped at someone? Or maybe fired off one of those slightly passive-aggressive emails, and the second you hit send, you're desperately looking for an undo button? Yeah, that hot, sinking feeling in your stomach, that's instant regret, and that's exactly what we're tackling.
And here's the thing. You can't undo it. It's done. But what you can do is choose your next reaction. And learning how to grab that little moment of choice, honestly, it's like having a superpower. So first, let's really dig into what we're up against here, the snap reaction problem. You know what I'm talking about. It's that immediate, completely unfiltered impulse that just seems to fly right past our better judgment. And trust me, it can cause some surprisingly big problems.
And we're talking about more than just a bad feeling here. A snap reaction can seriously damage relationships, it can tank your credibility at work, and it can turn a tiny little problem into a huge mountain of stress. It's that one moment where you say the one thing you can never ever take back, all because you let that first impulse take over.
So why? Why does this keep happening? Well, to figure out how to fix it, we've got to understand the two competing voices that are always going at it inside our heads. Turns out, there's this constant tug-of-war for who's in control. Okay, think of it like this. Your brain has two basic systems. On one hand, you've got your impulse system. This is your brain's autopilot. It is blazing fast, super emotional, and it handles thousands of little decisions every day without you even thinking about it. Then, on the other hand, you have your logic system. This is your conscious pilot. It's slow, it's rational, and, it takes real, deliberate effort to get it going. And here's the crazy part. Most of the time, our impulsive autopilot is in the driver's seat. But that's not a bug, it's actually a feature. See, our brains are hardwired for efficiency. The autopilot handles all the routine stuff, right? That saves up energy so our logical pilot can tackle the really big, complicated problems. The trouble is, the autopilot sometimes grabs the controls in those high-pressure moments, right when we desperately need the pilot to be flying the plane. So, the big question is, how do we make sure the right system is in charge when it matters most? Well, the solution is surprisingly simple, but don't let that fool you. It's incredibly powerful. It all comes down to creating just a tiny bit of space. I absolutely love this quote from Viktor Frankl. It just nails the core idea so perfectly. Okay, so the stimulus, that's the stressful email or the critical comment someone makes. The response, that's what you do next. But that little space in between, that is where all the magic happens. That's where you get to take back control. And the pause. That's how you create that space. It's a conscious choice. Think of it like a mental handbrake. You're pulling it to stop your emotional autopilot from driving you straight into a ditch. It's the one tool that gives your slower, logical pilot just enough time to get into the cockpit, look around, and figure out what's really going on. Okay, so how do we actually do this in the real world? Well, the practical skill behind the pause has a pretty fancy name, metacognition. But please don't let that word scare you off. It's way simpler than it sounds.
Really, that's it. Metacognition is just thinking about what you're thinking. It's stepping back for just a split second and noticing your own mental state. It's the little voice that says, "Whoa, I'm getting really angry right now," or "I'm feeling super defensive." Just that simple act of noticing is the first crucial step to changing how you respond.
And we can break this down into a really simple 4-step process. Okay, step 1, notice the trigger. What actually set you off? Step 2, take a breath. Just one deep breath. That right there is your pause. Step 3, in that little bit of space you just created, ask yourself one question. What is the most helpful thing I can do right now? And finally, step 4, from that new place of clarity, you choose your response. You don't let your impulse choose for you. So, what's the payoff here? What actually happens when you start making this a real habit? What does life even look like on the other side of that pause? Well, the benefits might start small, but believe me, they add up to something truly transformative.
You'll start making decisions based on your actual goals, not just your fleeting emotions. You'll see your relationships get stronger because you're responding thoughtfully instead of just reacting defensively. You'll feel so much less stress because you're not constantly running around cleaning up the messes your own snap reactions created. You literally start to reclaim control over your own life.
And let me be absolutely crystal clear on this point. The goal is not to become some kind of robot who feels nothing. Not at all. Your emotions are vital. They're data. The whole point is to use that data well. It's about letting your logic guide your powerful emotions toward a good outcome, instead of just letting your emotions run the entire show.
Because let's be honest, the next challenge is already on its way. That next stressful meeting, the next difficult conversation, it's right around the corner. So the only real question is, are you going to be ready for it? Where are you going to find your pause?